What if the most powerful empire in the world wasn't built on land or armies, but on an idea? An idea that promised eternal salvation. An idea that conquered Rome without a single legionnaire. An idea that, for 2,000 years, has shaped our laws, our art, and our very souls. But what happens when divine faith collides with earthly greed? When the keys to the kingdom of heaven are used to unlock the vaults of unimaginable wealth? This is not a story about faith itself, but about the institution that claimed to represent it. This is the story of how the world's largest religion became entangled in a web of power, money, and corruption so deep it would shake its very foundations. Tonight, we trace the money, from the humble collection plate to the birth of modern banking, to the secretive, scandal-ridden vaults of the Vatican itself. This is the story of how Christianity became corrupt. In the beginning, the Christian Church was a persecuted sect, but after Emperor Constantine's conversion, it became the official religion of the Roman Empire. With this new status came immense privilege and property. Land was the currency of the medieval world, and the church became its largest landlord. Through tithes, a mandatory 10% tax on everyone's income, donations from kings seeking divine favor, and bequests from the faithful hoping to buy a shorter stay in purgatory, the church amassed wealth on a scale no king could match. It was a spiritual economy, and the currency was fear and hope. But this wealth created a problem. How do you manage it? How do you move it across a dangerous, fractured continent? The answer would come not from a priest, but from a warrior monk. Enter the Knights Templar. Founded in 1119 to protect pilgrims traveling to the Holy Land, they were the special forces of their day. But their true genius wasn't in warfare, it was in finance. Imagine you're a wealthy Englishman going on pilgrimage. It's a long, dangerous journey. Carrying a chest of gold is an invitation to be robbed. So, you go to the Templar house in London. You deposit your wealth. In return, they give you a coded letter of credit. You travel to Jerusalem, armed with nothing but this letter. You present it at the Templar fortress there. After verifying your code, they give you your money back in local currency. It was the world's first international banking system. They invented the traveler's check. Kings and popes began using the Templars as their personal bankers. They managed royal treasuries, financed wars, and became the creditors to the most powerful men in Europe. At their peak, the Templars weren't just an order of monks. They were a multinational corporation with a private army, answerable only to the Pope, and that made them dangerous. King Philip IV of France was deeply in debt to the Templars. On Friday, October 13th, 1307, he struck. In a meticulously coordinated dawn raid, Templars across France were arrested, charged with heresy, blasphemy, and sodomy. The confessions were extracted under brutal torture. The last Grand Master, Jacques de Molay, was burned at the stake. As the flames consumed him, he allegedly cursed the king and the pope, declaring they would meet him before God within a year. Both were dead within the year. The Templars were dissolved, their wealth confiscated. But did it all make it to the French crown? Or did some of it vanish? The legend of the Templar treasure was born. With the Templars gone, the papacy itself became the undisputed financial powerhouse. The Renaissance popes were less spiritual shepherds and more princely CEOs. To fund colossal projects like the new St. Peter's Basilica, they perfected the art of revenue generation, selling indulgences. As soon as the coin in the coffer rings, the soul from purgatory springs. This direct marketing of salvation was the final straw for a German monk named Martin Luther. The Protestant Reformation was, at its heart, a rebellion against a corrupt financial system masquerading as God's will. But the Church adapted. In 1942, Pope Pius XV created the Institute for the Works of Religion, better known as the Vatican Bank. This was no longer about land or indulgences. This was about modern, global finance. Located inside the walls of a sovereign state, the Vatican Bank operated in near total secrecy. It was exempt from Italian taxes, financial regulations, and transparency laws. It was the perfect place to hide money. In the 1970s and 80s, the Vatican Bank was embroiled in a series of scandals that seemed straight out of a crime thriller. It was linked to the collapse of the Banco Ambrosiano, which was accused of laundering money for the Sicilian mafia. The bank's chairman, Roberto Calvi, was found hanging under London's Blackfriars Bridge, an alleged murder made to look like suicide. His predecessor, Michel Sindona, died by cyanide poisoning in prison. The Vatican denied official involvement, but was forced to pay hundreds of millions in restitution. The whispers grew louder. Was the Holy See not just incompetent, but complicit? Even today, Pope Francis has made cleaning up the Vatican's finances a central goal of his papacy, facing resistance from an old guard accustomed to the old ways. The battle between the spirit and the wallet continues. Part 4. Conclusion. So, where does this leave us? This is not an indictment of the billions of faithful Christians around the world whose faith is pure and personal. Nor is it a denial of the immense good done by countless churches and religious individuals throughout history. This is a story about power. The journey from the catacombs to the palace was a dangerous one. The church became a state, and states need money, armies, and diplomacy. They operate in a fallen, temporal world. The Templars created a revolutionary financial system to serve a holy cause, but in doing so, they became a target. The papacy, to maintain its temporal power, engaged in practices that betrayed its spiritual foundations. The Vatican Bank, created to manage God's earthly accounts, became entangled with some of the world's darkest forces. The corruption was not a single event, but a slow, compounding process. It was the inevitable corrosion that occurs when an institution designed for the next world becomes a dominant power in this one. The love of money is, as the Bible itself warns, a root of all kinds of evil. The struggle for the soul of Christianity is the eternal struggle between the spiritual and the material, between the message of the carpenter from Nazareth and the temptations of the kingdoms of this world. It is a battle that has been fought in hearts, in councils, and in the secret vaults of banks for 2 millennia. The question remains, can any institution hold such power and wealth without being corrupted by it? What do you think? Was this an inevitable path for a religion that became an empire? Or were there crucial moments where a different choice could have been made? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this journey fascinating, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the hidden histories that shaped our world. Thanks for watching.